Greetings, everybody. Welcome to Records of Evil. A couple weeks off, but we're back here to return to do some Lawful Evil stuff. Anyway, I think I just said it in a really weird way. It's been a really weird English morning for me, so don't mind me. Anyway, if you weren't with us last time we played,
it's okay. If you begin having a stroke, we'll call an ambulance.
Yeah. I think I already have had one, brain stroke. or massive amounts of brain farts. So they finished their adventures in Schult. Got back to Bezero, got back home, escaped the green hell, as they call the jungle, because guess what? It was kind of a green hell, and you made it more of a literal hell also. The entire, summoning devils that can now live there also, with all the other horrible things that live there.
Meh. I'll be honest, can't be more dangerous than the jungle already is.
It was pretty awful there. Relatively awful. Awful. Anyway, arriving back in Kalimport, you've decided that you really need to get the next leg of your journey up and running, and that means searching for the Eye. Which means heading north towards, My brain just exploded with non-information.
Oh,
past
no.
Baldur's Gate, past,
Neverwinter?
Neverwinter. Sorry, God. Past Baldur's Gate, past Waterdeep, up to Neverwinter. It's you have to take the coastline road. The coastline highway up all the way through Faerun. Oh boy!
And we left in Ares. Okay. Anyway, and basically a fallen angel lady in charge of the cult.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
And Aranis, yes. Except
Aranis, that's the word.
What kind
You
of?
could call her Erica,
What kind of car did you get?
We got like shipped like a minivan, didn't we?
Oh, that's right. You got. Oh no, I think you got a full van. You got like a Scooby van. You got like one of those like.
Oh.
So it's like the actual like people vans rather than like the like transport van. So it's got like all the windows in the back, but it's like a full van.
You gotta have enough tail room,
Uh huh. That's right. Okay. And so that's where kind of the adventures left off of Impy and the well, you left. I think you left Zirin in charge of the Uranus to make sure she didn't like destroy everything.
Yeah, just didn't try and burn the city down.
Mm-hmm. Probably saying something. Impudent imp! I shall destroy you for this. Warrior class devil, just in charge of things, and probably. Purging the infidels, etc., etc. Anyway, it'll be good times for you.
Clarified that she should definitely consider more along that. She sounded like she was going to go more the temptation route rather than the slaying route, so that works.
Oh yeah, she discovered sugar.
Mm-hmm. And plenty of other like devious things.
And coffee.
Mm-hmm. What lord of the pit has summoned this thing upon the earth realm?
She's never gonna be able to leave. Like, if they don't have coffee in hell, like, she's gonna be getting those caffeine headaches.
It'll just make her angrier, which is not really good. Cause she's got like a freaking like longsword she can just have whenever, so she's just like flaming longsword. She just pulls out. Anyway, so why don't we go around and have our cast of characters see how they're doing and how the entire situation has been going along. We'll start with hey Priscilla today.
Yes, I am. Priscilla is. She's doing alright. She's a little bit hesitant about leaving the Earnest in charge of, everything, but, she's otherwise eager to get working towards their ultimate goal.
Nice. And of course, how's Mishka doing with this entire craziness that's going on?
Well, she's definitely very happy to have the time to be back and have coffee and have normal showers. The whole traveling thing, she doesn't really want to do again, but you know, she's got to do what she's got to do for the goal, right?
Yeah.
She's decided to not another journey.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta follow the road.
Mm-hmm.
Therzee, how's Therzee doing?
Therzee is very glad to not be surrounded by crazy gnomes and dwarfs.
There you go.
Very stressful, and quite frankly, next time she's killing them instantly. They cause too much trouble.
Mm-hmm.
It's not worth it. She missed coffee and home, and traveling sucks. She's not too used to modern life.
Okay. Alright. Well, you soon pack up your stuff and get together the van for your journey. You know that it's going to be a bit of a long one, but you know it's probably not going to be, it would be a full day's journey at very least, traveling up the highway. It's over 1,000 miles to Neverwinter, if you're taking just the straightest path. So, of course, you leave Calimport and head up the highway, crossing the Callum Desert. This takes you past Memnon's Claw, a very familiar route in a way, as you've been up this way a couple of times now to your old cult hangout, where you can still see there's doing work on the Claw, excavating there. But it takes you past there and deeper into the desert for a long ride across the Callum Desert. It's maybe about 100 miles to cross the desert. So it's quite a bit of a journey of just open area. As with the past, it seems like there isn't a lot in the desert. There's a couple of offshoot roads that you wouldn't have expected here and there, leading to small towns in the middle of nowhere kind of thing. Maybe little oasis towns, little towns that's shrouded up because of maybe some kind of mining or something. Things like that around the area. There is a gas station in the middle of the desert, at least one in the middle of the highway that you will pass. But eventually you'll come across the first major city heading north, Memnon, which is at the northern border of Calimsham, and kind of where the Callum Desert ends. This city itself actually is... It's impressive, but like if you compare it to Calimport, not nearly as impressive. You know, it's a much smaller city than your home city now, and even like when you compare it to Mesro, where Mesro it seems like a lot of people are shoved into the city almost to protect themselves from the jungle. It seems to be another reason that they're kind of all population heavy. This one definitely seems to have like much more of a smaller city. It would be almost comparing like Philadelphia to Pittsburgh here in Pennsylvania. If you decide to keep going, you can keep heading north, pass out and head in towards Tether, which is the next country to the north.
Actually, just before we continue, were we gonna stop at Baldur's Gate? Because wasn't there like potential information on Diaston there?
Yes.
Or am I mistaken?
I think you were.
Yeah, we're gonna try and see if we can look into linealogy and stuff there.
Yeah, that's about halfway there. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, close to halfway.
Mm-hmm. The highway actually does kind of, like, you know, many modern day highways that we have in our world here. It kind of passes through the city.
Yes.
You actually will come to a border crossing of some kind, a little farther to the north. It just seems to be people checking in, those that are traveling, checking their papers and stuff. It's a very quick kind of crossing. I'd say it's probably closer to... It's... I don't know a good way of describing it, because it's not like full... Maybe like old Canada-US crossings before things got insane? Like 90s, 80s crossing?
I still don't think they're that bad.
I don't think they're that bad still, even. Yeah, you're right. I don't think it's gotten... I think it's gotten a little more strict since, like, the 90s, 80s. Because I remember going in the 90s into Canada. It was very, very easy. But, so, like, you know... so it's, like, around that kind of thing. At least between most of the... Faerun countries seem to have at least a relative border crossing, at least those that are in good terms. And the crossing to Tether is not too bad. There's a man in a uniform that's kind of coming up and checking on. Eventually your van will be able to pull up and be like, "Welcome to Tether. Your reason for visiting?"
Vacation?
Alright, great. How long will we be staying?
It's probably a couple of weeks, most. Maybe a bit longer. We haven't really decided. It's a spur of the moment thing.
Alright, well, do you have anything to declare?
Declare?
Oh. You guys would not have any idea what he's talking about.
No, that's why I'm like,
What sort of thing do we declare?
He's gonna, like, it's like he's been, like, looking at like a checkboard or something for a while, not even paying attention to you. Like, you just see that pause. He, like, looks up at you. It's like, right. Are you bringing any materials in from the south? Unusual fruits, animals.
I don't think.
Alright, you're fine. Get out of here. God damn it.
You seem to be having a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe we don't want to deal with him again.
Just move on. I'm like, declare, like, all hail our...
Yeah, that's what...
Dark Lord Asmodeus.
Look, kids, I know you're all like all these like near weird cults and stuff. Just, you know, keep them to yourselves. Keep them to yourselves, kids.
Oh.
Can we go?
Yeah, he's letting you go. So,
Yeah. Looks inside one more time before she drives off.
So, after the border, you'll head north from Memnon and head into Miratama. Like a city, like when you're passing over, like it's kind of nestled in between two rivers, or two branches of a river. So you kind of like will kind of pass over the river. It's over a bridge. It's an area that you're getting into. Originally, like you're getting out of more of the trade lands and into like at least in the old days, this was a very, like, human lands. The best way to describe it. Of course, then, it'll take you past, the area of, what? Is it just, like, Castle Tether? It's like on the map, it's just Castle, Tethier. I don't know if it's an actual thing. It might be a tourist spot now. It's a tourist spot. So, like, there's, like, signs for Castle Tethier. It's soon after, like, like, a major highway shift to a, eastern highway. But, eventually you'll be taken up to Zazapur. Before the highway will take you over the Starspire Mountains. The highway actually will go into the mountains for a little bit, and then there will be actually a very long tunnel that'll lead you through one of the mountains. I don't know if any of you traveled the old highway, but the old highway winded up into the mountains and did take you over the terrain. It was a little difficult. Possible with a, like, if you needed, like, a horse or something to get over there if you were getting on it, usually, or especially if you had, like, some kind of carts, you needed a good team to get you over that area there. But eventually, though, you'll manage to get over there. And that will take you, on the old tradeway highway to the northern reaches of Tether, which you're going to pass through Mossstone. I'm going to say now, you probably are getting to the point in time where you might have to get some gas. You have a vehicle that is okay gas mileage. Not great.
Oh, we can get gas station coffee.
I hear that's very hit or miss.
Mossstone is the first area near the where the highway takes you through the Weldath, the big forest. So you'll kind of move through a very foresty region. Probably parts of the Weldath have been cleared out here and there, but you know, when you're a forest filled with various things and stuff like that, you tend to be protected, and elves and horrible monsters. It does discourage logging operations in large degrees. Dragons. Anyway, so yeah, Mossstone is a little place that feels a little off, from the area. You can see where the old walls are of the city. There's like a little area that like the highway takes you in through like it's like a raised highway in parts of the area where you can kind of see where the old walled-in part of the city is. You can see where the big forest is. You'll kind of get off of the highway and head down into a little part of the city proper where there's actually like a little rest station off to the side. And there'll be like some bathrooms, a gas station, and a bunch of like weird restaurants. There is a chain fast food place, Boulet Burgers. And it's got this like weird creature that's kind of animated with like a chef's hat on. And like saying like, "I'm delicious."
Oh god.
Well, I mean, it says it's delicious. Should we not believe it?
I'm not sure.
Well, I've never heard of a creature advertising its own consumption.
And it's of course crossed from Ankeg Joe's, famous for his bug nuggets.
Oh my god.
I mean, it seems fine to me.
We could go try it. We could get something from each place and just like eat it in the car.
True.
See if they have coffee.
And
Both would probably serve coffee.
I'm up for any of them.
Alright, so you pick up some, boulet burgers and some, bug nuggets. Mm-hmm. They're like chicken nuggets, only they're not made with chicken. They're made with something much larger.
As long as there are no tiny legs in there.
There are
That's
not
fine.
tiny legs. When you're made from a horse-sized insect, you don't really have to worry about tiny legs being in it.
Exactly, so it should be fine.
Yeah.
So like, you'll get, the, crittery crawly, bug nuggets, and then the land shark, as they call it, which is their, like, double pattied, burger for the boulet burgers.
We're going fancy.
Mm-hmm. And you'll gas up
I
and
know.
enjoy.
You know, I can't stop but think, like, every time you said bug nuggets, think of, like, oh man, I got kicked in the bug nuggets.
Oh,
Oh
God.
no!
That's a much more interesting way of describing that as I thought it would be.
Oh.
Anyway, that's where my mind went every single time. Just wanted to share.
Mm. Well, yes. So, eventually, though, you will continue your journeys to the, north, out of, Maelstrom. And now with a full tank of gas and a full belly of food, you're ready to cross into the Wheel Death. The highway here is, like, I call it, like, more... It's still a highway, but it's more of, like, a rural highway. You know, you've got, like, it's very few roads, offshoots, very few exits. It's mostly just forest on either side of the road. And thick forest, too. And we're talking like, you know, you've got your double lane highway, but at this point in time, it does the thing where, like, the highways will, like, split apart. So, like, you can kind of, like, occasionally see in between trees in the middle, like, the other highway on the other side, going the other direction. But you're really stuck to your own little two-lane here thing going through thick woods. There'll actually be a slowdown in here. And you'll kind of come up to what looks to be a car accident. Where you're going to see, like, a number of police officers there, and a large dragon in a uniform there.
Oh.
Like,
Like, there seems to be a green dragon with, like, a very large police hat and, like a little vest on or something. Who seems to be taking notes, you know? Mm-hmm.
I just imagine, like, a really giant dragon with the uniform on.
It's like car-sized dragon, yeah, like, you know, like, checking things out. And you see it, like, it'll, like, you know, like, it's gonna help, like, move, like, one of the cars, like, because it's kind of, like, off the side of the road, hit into stuff, it's, like, from the accidents, you know, it's kind of moving it back, you know. You'll see, like, there'll be, like, an elven man that is kind of, like, moving traffic along, kind of, like, getting you to, so you kind of go by, just kind of, like, directing you as you kind of go through the slowdown. Looks to be 3 vehicles got into an accident. But soon you'll pass by the car accident and continue your travels to the north. And this will take you at the border crossing from Tether into the next nation to the north, into Am.
Oh boy. Did anything look weird about the car crash? Was it just like a normal car accident?
I'd say it's probably more of a normal car crash. You know, it's like it was
like a rear ending.
Like one car rear-ended, and then when it spun, like the one spun out, it knocked into a third one, kind of thing. You know, so it was just it ended up with like, you know, one broke a little bit, other hit it, and you know, just kind of what I'm looking for right words, and I'm not finding those right words because I'm bad.
Today's a hard
I
one.
understand. It's okay.
It's hard brain dag, good, bad, no good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just you know, cascaded together. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay. So yeah, you'll pass through the rest of the wall death and go to the Small Teeth Mountains. Small Teeth, much smaller mountains, not too bad. You'll definitely see that there is like there's a couple offshoot roads there for like a couple like there's Ogerton off to one side. You'll see a sign like a billboard in this area for it's what's a great way of describing it? It's like one of the it's not medieval times. It's like the lumberjack version of medieval times because that exists. But it's not done by lumberjacks. It's done by hill giants.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So now I've gone the 4 degrees of separation to explain the concept. So it's like the like lumberjack bouts or like, you know, mountain man bouts, except it's by like hill giants. So yes. And so they're kind of having like, it seems like a crazy kind of show. They're like saying like, in 5 miles, get off at exit blah 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 to come see this, you know, tourist trap kind of stuff. Now that you're getting like out of the wheel death, you're getting into like the part of this highway that kind of leads over the Small Teeth. You know, it kind of just shows it off there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. My bad. You've already. So you'll pass by. So far your border checkpoints have not been too bad. You know, you travel from Tether to Moran. Channeling into On looks like it's a little bit more difficult.
It's kind of interesting because if this was built over Trade Way, you technically pass through.
You would have been in Muradin though already.
Yeah, there's a part that goes into Cape Velm.
Yeah, because when you get into the Well Death, it's split between Tether and Muradin. Which, unfortunately, I don't have a good country map, so I'm just trying to figure this out where they split very well. How big is On? Not too big. It splits off at the Cloud Piercers. Anyway. Yes. I'll do my best to try to, like, but, definitely has much stricter borders. Mostly because, they have tolls at the border. If you enter into
Oh.
If you do not have citizenship papers, it is $10 to get in. Or $10.
$10?
Effectively, you know, we can use the. What were we in Calimport? You guys wrote it down. My brain is farting so
Lira.
much today. Lira? I thought it was Lira, but I didn't want to just say it. My brain has been just a little off today. Don't mind me. Only slightly broken. Anyway, it's effectively like 10 lire toll. Get in. If you're a citizen of On, it's a lot cheaper. But you still have to pay to get back in. On was a big merchant country. They're one of the most wealthy nations in this area still. Known for controlling... Kalimport was a big trade city too, and it's grown to big risen. Kalimport controls like the south down towards Chult and Mostica. Is the one that controls the trade routes from the south. So anything that Kalimport or anybody down in Kalimport wants to ship north, it has to go through Alm. So a lot of trade routes go through cities. That is their advantage that they have. Hello, welcome. I see you are traveling with us today. What can I help you with?
Just passing through.
All right. How long will we be staying in our country? Long term, short term? Or just passing through?
Passing through.
Right. Well, just going to take a quick look at what you got in the back there. He's going to kind of like walk around the vehicle. Mm-hmm. Don't look like you have anything that needs to be checked on. You looks pretty good. All right. Well, I think you're pretty good to go here. So, welcome to On. Hope you enjoy your stay. Thank you for the bit of money collected there, and just stay safe and don't get in any trouble.
Will do.
Yeah.
I do want to point out, I don't know if you've thought of this, but my character is definitely bringing along her mace.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, a random mace in the back of your car, like, it's weird, but, like, I've had people I know that have put stuff in there from Ren fairs from their car and never removed it. You know, like maces and stuff.
That's fair.
You know, so it's like, is that a mace in the back of your car? Whatever.
Mace, short bow. Yeah.
Yep. It's just another one of those interesting things that's totally there. So you'll manage to kind of finish traveling across the Small Teeth Mountains. And your first stop in there over the Small Teeth is you're going to pass through a relatively small, I'd say very small city. Like, you've not, like, in comparison to a lot of the cities and places you've been now, this is a very tiny one. I'd compare it to, like, you know, one of those, like a fifth tier city in your own like country, you know, kind of like in the back end. Small place, probably grew up from a relatively small town at one point in time. Definitely has grown up. It's Imiskar is the first area before you head north farther. You're also passed through, if I can pronounce this thing's name, gosh, I do not know if I can pronounce this. Perskal. Okay, it's just trying to read it like on a tiny map that doesn't zoom in anymore. It's a very good map, but doesn't zoom in anymore. You'll of course pass through Perskal, and through the trade route will take you through the what was once referred to as the caravan capital of On, Crymor. Now, granted, it is not I don't think it's the literal capital of On. That is...
No, that's Athkalta.
Athkalta, yeah. Athkalta. But this was like the central area that land routes and on some of the water routes would take. It's still on a river, part of the major river systems down from the Gold Peaks. And it still connects up with many of the highways that head to the east. So it ends up being like a central sector that things traveling from, at least here on the old tradeway, on the highway, that's where the tradeway was, still come in through here a lot of times. So you'll see like large trucks getting on and off into areas of crime more. And seemingly like there's like kind of like you see like this big like areas of shipping containers at ports. They will have a kind of port like that here, though it seems to be kind of mixed in between, like, you know, it seems like as much as Athkadala has its own trade being on the sea, those ships that can bring things up the river up to here do so. So it's like a secondary major trade port, bringing things into like with major shipping containers kind of areas. You can see the town proper. You get a good sight of it from the highway. It's very neat and interesting. But you'll head farther north, past the Cloud Peaks, past the city of Neshakel, which Neshakel was always a little bit out of It's technically but it also is kind of not and I'll take you to the north and farther on, and then I have to figure out what city this one is here and what country you might be entering into when you get closer to Candlekeep and Baragost.
Baragost. Friendly arms. Oh, friendly arm. I've played it. I've played far enough into Baldur's Gate to know that.
Baragost. It's on the coastway between Baldur's Gate and On. Like it's like I've got to. Okay. I don't think it's originally had a country in this area, so it's maybe just like it's something.
Like, is this? I mean, because that's the thing is the Sword Coast gets kind of weird in the way it breaks down its countries, because it's kind of just,
yeah,
as far as I understand, areas controlled by each city.
Yeah, it gets into that. So I'm gonna call this the Coastway. It's now. It was a region that kind of incorporated together in this area to the north of On, under Baldur's Gate as its capital. Anything south of the Troll Hills, and kind of goes off to the part of the Greenfields. Kind of so that it kind of incorporated that kind of area there. So the Woods of Sharp Teeth and the Cloak Woods are all part of it. The Troll's Claws, Fields of the Dead, that's all part of the Coastway now, kind of region. And to the north of that, it gets into the High Moor. Waterdeep will be part of its own section called Waterdeep now, actually. And we're going to say that Neverwinter is also incorporated because Neverwinter Woods and the region there incorporated into its own kind of area with that as the capital eventually. So Baldur's Gate, just because of like almost like each one had their own kind of origin story. This one here for the Coastway, the individual towns in the and cities in the region kind of incorporated together and decided Baldur's Gate would be the capital. But you'll head through Baragost, which was a town kind of halfway between those two, and it's an important caravan town because if you were going to head to the Sea of Fallen Stars to the east, Waterdeep to the north, it's kind of the place that's a kind of midpoint for all of those, for getting on some of the trails and stuff. So yeah, you'll pass there.
The Sword Coast is a collection of city-states rather than a direct country.
We'll give it 2,000 years. They're countries now, you know.
Yep. No, that's totally fair. I'm just letting you know. It's like that's why there's no like country name.
Yeah, God, it's like Faerun gets a little confusing in some areas too, where the countries like places like yours.
Funny enough, if the country's probably the Sword Coast.
Yeah, the Sword Coast actually was going to be a full country at one point in time, but there was some diplomatic things that broke them down into the individual countries now. That there is talk of integrating back into the Sword Coast, but that was 1,000 years ago that they were effectively attempting to be one country. But there was there was a civil war between the city-states back in that day. So like 1,000 years ago, big civil war. They've broken apart into like pretty much 3 main separate regions now, between the Cloud Peaks and the Spine of the World. You know, and there has been recent, if you want to look into it in current Faerun history, there have been talks of reintegrating it. So that's your, you know, they're in it, probably in the most connected of the countries, I'll say now. They're very, like, European Union currently between these, like, 3 major countries down where the Sword Coast is, with hopes of maybe full integration. Anyway, but eventually you will head up to Baldur's Gate.
Woo.
And I think we should take our first break as you arrive in Baldur's Gate from your long trip, where it has been probably at least half a day. You've probably been on the road for a good, 5 or 6 hours at least, with that kind of one break in the middle to get, like, some gas and food.
And I didn't crash us into anyone.
No. You've probably gone, like, a good, like 550, 600 miles. So yeah, very long trip already, arriving in Baldur's Gate. It's probably getting, I'd say by now, like mid-afternoon at least. Because knowing you folks, you probably wouldn't have set out right away in the day.
Don't know what you mean.
You probably would have set out.
Vercel would have wanted to, but everyone.
Of course, Vercel would have wanted to, but getting him
trying to wake us, just like, come on, let's go, and they're just like, no.
5 more minutes. I need my coffee. Make some coffee.
If you make us coffee, then we leave.
Vercel's too disciplined and militant.
But, yeah. So our team has arrived at Baldur's Gate with perhaps some missions here before heading farther north towards Waterdeep. It's unfortunately, like, as straight away as it was from Calimport to Baldur's Gate. It's a little out of the way because they did build the highway over the old tradeway. There have been talks of a new bypass that would take it over the Troll Hills and the Trollbark Forest, just because things are more peaceful now and less troll murdery. But the bypass has not been built as of yet. You know, worrying about some other stuff, country-wise at least. But we'll take our first break here, as the journey to the north has been an interesting one so far. And also an interesting one in trying to understand the politics of the universe of Faerun, because it's complex as all hell. But if you folks out there need a bathroom break, a drink break, a snack break, anything like that, go ahead and grab it and come back with it, and we'll be back in a little bit to continue our adventures here. So see you in a minute, folks.